Welcome to Solana's time clock demonstration. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more about how time clock can improve your time collection effort. Solana Time Clock collects staff time and enables managers to efficiently review and approve time that your payroll staff can then export for processing in Provider Pro Payroll. With Solana Time Clock, your staff logs their time using any PC, iPad, or Android 2.3 and higher tablet, 7 inches or larger with a browser and an internet connection. This no hardware required tool means you don't have to purchase and maintain any single-purpose devices. Solana recommends the Chrome browser. However, Safari, Firefox, and Internet Explorer 9.0 and higher are also supported. With the quick login, staff access Time Clock with a PIN and go directly to the Enter Time screen. To do so, staff will point their browsers to a special agency-specific web address that Solana sets up, and then either type in or tap each number of their agency-assigned PIN. From the Enter Time screen, staff can enter or review their own time. Time Clock can automatically log staff out after a preset number of seconds of inactivity on the Enter Time screen. The full login requires staff to enter their unique agency-assigned email address and password to log in. Managers must use the full login to access the Approved Time screen. The unique PINs, email addresses, and passwords are all synced to Time Clock from Provider Pro automatically each night, or an agency can run a sync at any time. The list of available Data Plus platform apps appears. The user selects Time Clock to proceed to either the Enter Time screen for staff or the Approved Time screen for managers. If your agency also uses Solana's staff portal and the employee is logged into it, he or she can go directly to Time Clock without entering a separate login. Time Clock opens as if the employee logged in with the full login. Lastly, employees can log into Time Clock by swiping their badges if your agency has installed swipe card readers. With a few mouse clicks or finger taps, your staff can efficiently record their time and activity information with virtually no training required. Staff use clock in, transfer, and clock out to enter their activities in real time as they work based on the system time and your agency's rounding rules. The cost center is the location where the employee is working for payroll accounting purposes. The employee's Provider Pro default cost center is selected initially. However, he or she can change it to a different one if needed. The task is the activity the employee is doing. Tasks are a combination of wage types, regular, sleep, etc., and job titles, DSP, manager, etc., for payroll accounting purposes. The task tied to the employee's Provider Pro default wage type and primary job title is selected initially, but can be changed to a different one if needed. Once the employee picks the appropriate cost center and task, he or she simply selects Clock In to record the begin date and time. Depending on your agency's wage type settings, a date and time pop-up may appear. If so, it defaults to the system date and time, but allows the employee to select the plus and minus signs to change the date and time if needed. The minutes will increment or decrement to the nearest minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, based on your agency's rounding settings. Clocked In appears under the employee's name. If the employee changes cost centers or tasks throughout the day, he or she picks the new ones and then selects Transfer to end the current and start the next in one step. At the end of the employee's shift, he or she selects Clock Out to record the end time for the day. Employees enter all hours-based tasks such as personal, sick, vacation, or other time that happened in the past in historical mode from the Review Time screen. Employees are prompted to enter the cost center, task, date, and total hours for the historical entry. Depending on your agency's settings, the employee may be required to enter a note before saving the historical time entry. Your agency can set up predefined messages for staff to pick from, or staff can enter their own note. Staff select either Save and Create to save the entry and create another one, or Save to save the entry and return to the Review Time screen. If the entry is too far in the past or in the future, based on your agency's settings, the employee will receive an error message and must make the necessary corrections before saving the entry. With Solana Time Clock's paperless solution, you no longer need to distribute paper forms and wait for them to be collected and returned. From staff data entry to manager review and approval, every step is online and accessible 24/7. Staff can review their own time entries and, depending on your agency's settings, can update their entries to correct mistakes or void them completely. The hours by wage type and total hours summaries are based on the time entries that currently appear in the grid. Staff can select an entry in the grid to view additional information or update it. If your agency's settings allow staff to make changes, the first tab will be updated. If the time entry has not been approved, staff can make any changes needed. If your agency's settings do not allow staff to make changes, the first tab will be viewed and the information is read-only. From the Notes tab, staff can view any notes their manager entered for this entry, or select Add Note to enter a new note. Staff can also select and mark one or more time entries in the review time grid and add the same note to all of them. Similarly, staff can select Void to void one or more marked time entries. Upon entry, Time Clock automatically checks for missing or invalid data, eliminating the most common human errors associated with paper forms, saving managers time tracking down errors and providing payroll staff with clean data. With Time Clock, managers can access their employees' time entries to review and approve from any web browser. Time Clock has already flagged questionable entries, making the review and approval process more efficient than stacks of paper forms and ensuring that clean data is passed to Provider Pro Payroll for efficient processing. The green circle indicates that the entry is pending approval and has no errors or unacknowledged warnings. The orange diamond indicates that the entry has an unacknowledged warning that must be acknowledged and/or the issue corrected before it can be approved. Warnings include an entry with hours less than or equal to 0 that exceeds an agency-configured number of hours or crosses the daylight savings time change in the spring or fall. The red triangle indicates that the entry has one or more errors and can't be approved. It must be corrected or voided. Errors include an entry with a missing end time, a begin-end time that overlaps with another begin-end time, or that exceeds 24 hours. Other icons appearing in the grid indicate that additional information is available about the time entry. The orange diamond with the check mark in it indicates that the entry has one or more acknowledged warnings. The notebook indicates that there are one or more notes user entered for this entry. The yellow square indicates that there are one or more system-generated notices for this entry. A notice is just an FYI and no action needs to be taken. Notices include late entries, future entries, historical entries, an entry that was split into 2 entries because it crossed midnight, or an entry with more than agency-configured number of hours. Before approving their staff's time entries, managers must first acknowledge any warnings and correct any errors. The first tab will either be Update, if settings allow managers to modify their staff's entries, or View. Any errors, warnings, or notices that were generated for this entry appear on the Warnings tab. Managers can either acknowledge or unacknowledge an individual warning, or acknowledge or unacknowledge all the warnings that appear for this entry, if more than one appears. Notice the warning icon now has a check mark inside it, and the button changed to Unacknowledge. Managers select this if they acknowledge a warning by mistake. However, they cannot unacknowledge a warning once the time entry is approved. Managers cannot delete erroneous time entries. Instead, they can void any unapproved entries. Depending on your agency's settings, managers may be required to enter a reason for voiding the entry. They can either leave custom message selected and enter their own message, or select a predefined note. Your agency defines the messages that appear here. The predefined message appears in the Notes box. The trash can icon appears in the second column now, indicating the entry was voided. Managers can use the Create feature to add in the correct entry. Like the Staff's Review Time screen, various filters are available to the manager to make review and approval easier. When all warnings and errors are corrected or acknowledged, the manager simply selects Approve to approve the employee's time. The green circle now has a check mark in the middle of it, indicating the entry is approved. The manager follows this process for each of their employees. Once managers approve the time, your payroll staff can easily export and download the data to a Microsoft Excel file, which is ready to import into Provider Pro payroll wage entries for processing. From the Export Data screen, payroll staff can select an existing export file and download it to their PCs, or select New Export to create a new file. Payroll staff will pick correct cutoff date for the export file. The file will include all approved time entries that have not already been exported up to and including the date entered. The time it takes for the export file to be available to download varies depending on the number of employees' days included in the file. Once completed, payroll staff can select it from the list to download to their PCs. Payroll staff can change the default file name and directory if needed. The exported icon now appears next to the time entries included in the file. Finally, payroll staff logs into Provider Pro to import the time clock export file into payroll wage entries. When the import wizard is finished reading the file, payroll staff can review the overall summary of the results. Any errors appear in the Messages box, and payroll staff must research and correct them before continuing. The imported wage entries appear in the grid, and payroll staff can continue the payroll process as usual. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about Solana's no hardware required time collection, review, and approval solution. We are confident TimeClock will benefit your agency's time collection efforts. As seen in the demonstration, with TimeClock you can log in using any web browser. There's no need to purchase and maintain single-purpose timekeeping devices. Eliminate most common errors through TimeClock's point-of-entry validation, increasing the accuracy of data, resulting in fewer corrections for payroll staff. Eliminate forms distribution and collection delay with a paperless system. Use web-based review and approval to spend less time on administrative work and more time serving individuals in your care. Get up and running with TimeClock's intuitive user interface with virtually no training. Link directly to Provider Pro Payroll without expensive custom programming. Again, we thank you for considering Solana for your technology solutions. You can reach us at 419-330-3402 or email us at info@solanapro.com for purchasing information. You can also connect with us on our website, www.solanapro.com, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.